Hello and welcome to the show. We have our first vehicles for Tuner Thursday and we start with a Datsun 510 from Reese. Now this is a small and incredibly light car, which should be good for this kind of track. In fact, the Datsun is stupidly light. This one in particular weighs 1,846 pounds. Apart from the very classic race cars like Lotus 11 and the old Maserati and Ferrari, that kind of thing, not many cars are going to weigh less than the Datsun. That's really very, very light. And this one is powered by a V8 engine, 518 horsepower. It almost has as much power, or is getting on for as much power, as my Mitsubishi GTO, and it weighs 1,000 pounds less. Quite a big power to weight ratio. In this particular car, you can see it's got a roll cage in it. It could even be a little bit lighter. Torque is also not bad, 491 foot-pounds. So yeah, the power in this thing is monstrous, and the weight, there isn't very much of it. As far as handling goes, well, it is still rear-wheel drive, and when you have this much power and this little weight, the car will slide around. It will be oversteery if you aren't careful. It's not too bad though. You will see a few times me sliding there, especially on this corner here. This particular corner, it's very easy to get cars sideways. The track kind of falls away a little bit on the outside. It's very easy to just run a little bit wide, and because you're trying to get on the power, the back end of the cars can just get away from you. So yeah, you will slide the Datsun round a little bit through the corners. That's kind of to be expected, but as long as you're careful, there isn't really sort of any huge problems. I mean, the traction out of the corners is not too bad. This track is can be a fairly tricky one to get a car right for. There's a lot of sort of slow speed corner exiting, especially the final corner, this hairpin. You got to deliver all of your power out of a very, very slow corner, and the Datsun deals with it all fairly well. There is some wheel spin here and there, but on the most part it deals with it okay. The first corner here is a scary one. Now, in the GTO I have no problems taking this first corner flat out. The Datsun, you can do it, but it does move around a fair bit going through that first turn, which, yeah, I had my heart racing a couple of times when you're trying to carry as much speed as you possibly can and you start heading towards the wall and then you start panicking. Got away with it. I don't think I ever hit the wall on the first car. I brushed the. Speaking of hitting the wall, I ran a little bit wide there and bumped that one. Yeah, it can do it. It just feels a little bit scary. The other thing with the handling of this vehicle is the brakes are interesting. The brakes are very interesting on this one. As I said, car is very light. Brakes are pretty good. The brake get stopped very quickly. I mean, it's a fast car, accelerating fast car in a straight line, or certainly a fast car for this track. The brakes are a funny one on here. When the easiest way to describe it is it feels like the rear brakes are locking up. I don't think they are, but when you jump on the brakes, you'll have probably seen it throughout this clip. The car moves around a lot under braking. The rear end does move. It doesn't sort of come round on you. At least that hasn't happened to me while driving it. But the rear of the car moves around a hell of a lot under heavy braking. The most notable bit is probably into turn 1. That you're about to see here. It's kind of scary. It will get stopped, but you've got to be aware. Certainly the first couple of laps scared the hell out of me. Jumping on the brakes, it felt like the car was moving all over the place. I think it is just slightly softer suspension. And when you jump on the brakes, the weight transfer goes forward, the rear of the car goes all light, and it wiggles around all over the place. Yeah, a little bit scary to get used to, but it does work. On the most part, I didn't have too many problems. I don't think I was locking the brakes up as such, but yeah, a little bit of a fiddly one to get used to. And of course, as I said, if you push it a little bit too hard, yes, the Datsun will go sideways. And of all the corners, that is the one to be careful of. Also, curbs weren't the Datsun's best friend. Up next, from Manila 95, we have got a GMC Cyclone. Yeah, a slightly more unusual vehicle, this one, shall we say, slightly less likely perhaps to be a a racing vehicle, if you like. However, they have had a fairly decent record. I think one of these got a second place in a versus the community against all odds. Yeah, the Cyclones are not too bad in A-Class. This one got a little bit more power than the Datsun 556. I believe it still has the standard engine. I know it's twin turbocharged. I think it still has the standard engine. More power, a lot more torque, up to 619 torque from the Cyclone. However, of course, there is a lot more weight, 3,000 pounds from the pickup truck. I'm not surprised to see this being a bit of a heavier vehicle. It's a huge, great big pickup. So yeah, let's be honest, we are expecting it to be a little bit on the heavy side. It is four-wheel drive as well, which is nice. A certain amount of safety goes with having a four-wheel drive car. It means that out of these slow corners, you're not really worried about wheel spin. You turn in, once the car's through the corner, you're booted out the other side, and things will be okay. The Cyclone does slide a little bit. You will see quite a lot throughout this clip that this Cyclone does like to slide around a little bit. It has plenty of grip, and when you get out of the corners, yeah, you can absolutely floor it in the Cyclone out of the corners. The back end will just start sliding around a little bit out of these turns. You got to be aware of that. I didn't have too many problems with the curbs. The curbs at Long Beach, certainly the sort of the very inside, there's like the little bumpy sausage curbs that you can't really hit with most cars, especially sort of the smaller and lighter the vehicle, the more unhappy they get with the curbs. I didn't have too many problems with the Cyclone, in all honesty. If you clonk them really hard, then yes, it's going to lift the car up onto two wheels. But it wasn't too bad in the Cyclone. It fared pretty damn well around the track. I have to say, I was quite pleasantly surprised by how nice this vehicle drove, even having to be a bit careful, certainly on the exit of some of the corners, not to get a little bit too carried away. Now, the brakes are, shall we say, the difficult thing with this vehicle. Much like with my Mitsubishi, they didn't really like getting stopped so much. It wasn't as nice on the brakes as the Datsun, and that's not surprising. It's a great big pickup truck. It weighs quite a lot more. It was, in many ways, quite similar to the Mitsubishi. Similar sort of braking zones. If anything, I could brake a tiny bit later, perhaps, with the Cyclone, but it wasn't by very much. It was around the same thing. So yeah, it struggled a little bit under braking. It made up for it, though, in being very quick out of the corners. The other one thing I would point out that is terrifying in this truck is, again, this first corner. It is flat out in the Cyclone. However, every single part of my brain is screaming at me, telling me you can't take it that fast. Because the minute you turn in, it feels like the back end of the truck is going to come round. It has the grip, it gets through the first corner flat out here. It is a flat out corner in this, but it feels like the back end is just on the limit of grip, literally completely and utterly on the limit of grip. You can do it. It took me a good few laps to get up the nerve to do it, because it is, yeah, just completely on the limit with the Cyclone. But it has enough grip to get around that corner. I mean, it's a fast truck, has plenty of power. There we go. So some big slides out of the vehicle. There are a few times I got very close to the wall. I think that may have been a little bit too close. I just got a small bump on that wall again. Yeah, quite a bit of sliding. Also, the colour, I forgot to point out at the start. This is just a Cyclone I had in my garage. I have no idea why I had it painted in this particular colour. I think it was one of the very early vehicles that I bought that I was messing about with the paints, and it had the is it pearlescent, the one that changes colour? I think I got that right. That's just what was on it. So that's why the Cyclone's a funky colour. Our third and final vehicle for today is from Rubber Trail. It is a Vauxhall Astra VXR. I'm personally not a huge fan of Vauxhall, aside from the Monaro, that's fantastic. I'm not really a huge fan of Vauxhalls. However, the new Astra VXR I do quite like. I think it's a great looking car. It's also a great driving car. I had one, I think I got up to 600 horsepower in a front wheel drive one, and it was still just about drivable. It's a very nice car to drive. The VXR. This one isn't front wheel drive anymore. No, this has been converted to four wheel drive, and it's got, I believe, the Turbo Rally engine in it. So it's a 1.6 litre engine, tiny little engine. This car, by far the smallest engine that that we've had in this series so far. Now, the downside of using that engine is you can't get more than 500 horsepower. The maximum horsepower you can get out of the engine is 497. You still get decent torque figures out. I'm amazed how much torque we got out of it. 589 torque. That's far more than I expected from the little turbo rally engine. It's a great engine. However, in A-Class, it tends to mean that the vehicles, you struggle to kind of get to the top of A-Class, certainly. Oh, in this one, this vehicle isn't the top of A-Class. It's a PI as 682. You just can't get as much power out of the engine as perhaps you would like. It's also a very heavy car. Now, I'm not sure if this has had a full weight reduction on it. It's possible that the final stage of weight reduction puts the PI well into S-Class. However, this thing weighs 3,100 pounds. That's heavier than the Cyclone. A two-door hot hatch heavier than a pickup truck. I mean, admittedly, okay, so the Cyclone is a sport pickup truck. That's still damn heavy for the for the Astra. Yeah, I was really amazed just how heavy this thing was. And of course, it's not as powerful as the other cars. This much weight and less power is not such a good thing. The brakes are lovely on here. The brakes are very, very good on the Astra. Despite it being the heaviest car here, I was certainly braking the latest with this. The brakes did feel pretty damn good. I have to say, I don't think it was as quick in a straight line as some of the other vehicles, but under braking it was a very, very good vehicle at getting stopped. Actual handling characteristics, things get interesting as we have a little bit of a wall tap in the Astra. Yeah, not the easiest of cars to drive, this one. Yes, it is four-wheel drive, but it is quite an oversteery four-wheel drive car. It took me a while to get used. I had a spin on the very first, after the first big braking zones, I guess you could say turn 2, I had a spin on my opening run with it, because it is quite an oversteery vehicle. It can be a little bit twitchy as well. If you get things wrong in it, it will bite back and spin you around in a circle. Once you kind of get past that, once you start getting the hang of the vehicle, it's not too bad to drive. It's not too bad to drive at all. There is plenty of grip in it. However, yeah, it will slide around through some corners, especially out of this final hairpin. And now, any car, because it's such a slow corner, when you boot it out of that final hairpin, you're going to get a bit of oversteer in it. In the Astra, it's probably the most oversteery out of all of them. To be honest. I mean, okay, I was probably being more careful with the Datsun because I know that it's rear-wheel drive and I know that this is four-wheel drive, but you could get some big slides going on in this Astra. Turn 1 was no problem at all. Absolutely flat out in this car, and I had no fears. I mean, I could hug almost the inside wall all the way through turn 1. That's how much grip there was and slight lack of speed. Didn't have the same straight line speed as the other cars. Didn't quite have the same acceleration as them either. Yeah, took a little bit of getting used to driving this car. A bit of a different vehicle. Probably not my personal favourite style. Some more sliding from the Astra. Yeah, slid around plenty. You could keep it under control though. With a little bit of patience and a little bit of throttle control, you could stop the Astra from sliding around, but it does mean that you couldn't quite make the most out of the four-wheel drive because you couldn't quite boot it out of every single corner with as much confidence. On to the lap times, and there's a little bit of a surprise at the top. The GMC Cyclone, yes, a pickup truck, currently tops the table with a 125.233, and that's a damn fast lap time around Long Beach as well. Really surprised with just how quick that vehicle is. The Datsun is not far off though, a 125.374. Yeah, very similar times between the pair of them. They get their speed very differently. The Datsun, better under braking. It gets a little bit scary, but it is better under braking than the Cyclone, whereas the GMC can just use all of its power out of the corners a lot better. My Mitsubishi has fallen down to third, a half a second off the pair, while the Astra is at the bottom of the table with a 128.864. Quite a long way off as well. Admittedly, it is, I think, 18 PI off the top of A-Class, which will have had a little bit of an effect on that. I wouldn't have said, certainly when driving it, it didn't feel that far off in lap time, but that is the best that I could do with the car. Yeah, that's a little bit of a surprise. It just doesn't. I guess it just doesn't quite have the same straight line speed, the same acceleration as the other two, being a bit heavier and a bit sort of lower down on the power. Anyway, that is it for this episode of Tuner Thursday. If you would like to submit your car for future episodes. You can go to our forums. There will be a link in the description under official events, Forza 5 official events. There is a Tuner Thursday section, and all the rules for submitting cars are in there. However, that's it from me, so thank you very much for watching, and until next time, a goodbye.